everyone who can't stand this world the way it is, who is sick and tired of so many people being treated as less than human, who knows that the claim of liberty and justice for all is a cruel lie, who is righteously enraged that injustice and inequality go on and on and on, despite false promises and honeyed words from people in power or those seeking power. Everyone who agonizes about where things are headed and the fact that to be young now means being denied a decent future or any future at all. Everyone who has ever dreamed about something much better or even wondered whether that is possible. Everyone who hungers for a world without oppression, exploitation, poverty, and destruction of the environment. Everyone who has the heart to fight for something that is really worth fighting for. You need to be part of this revolution.
Hi, I'm Lenny Wolff. I'm an advocate for the new communism and a follower of Bob Avakian, and that was Bob Avakian, drawing from a declaration, a call to get organized for a real revolution. If you heard yourself in what he said, then you need to know about and be part of May 1st this year. May 1st is the Revolutionary Internationalist holiday that people all over the world celebrate, marking it with struggle to bring into being the emancipated world that humanity cries out for ever more urgently through revolution. This year, the RevComs have called for celebrations in Los Angeles and New York, and they have raised these slogans: No U.S.-NATO war with Russia. No World War III. It's this system, not humanity, that needs to become extinct. We don't accept their future. It's time to get organized for a real revolution. Today, I'm going to talk with Noche Diaz, national spokesperson for the Revolution Clubs, about their plans for May 1st, the Revolutionary Internationalist holiday. So Noche, welcome to the Revolution Nothing Less show.
Thanks, Lenny.
So Noche, walk us through these slogans.
Well, to start with the first two parts of this, no U.S.-NATO war with Russia, no World War III. This is very important and different from what people are getting whipped up around to demand right now. Yes, there is a very destructive and heartbreaking scene developing in Ukraine with Russia's unjust and illegal invasion. But people are being whipped up to support things like the no-fly zone over Ukraine, which would involve U.S. more directly becoming involved militarily and having to shoot down anything that flies over Ukraine airspace. People are in the media and the press are recklessly talking about the U.S.'s history of assassinations and orchestrating coups d'etats in countries all over the world, as if those are positive examples of what we should be encouraging and demanding from the U.S. now. This is all dangerous in its own right, and it's part of people in this country being trained to think in really putrid and disgusting ways to support the U.S. in its attempts to more fully dominate the world militarily, politically, and economically. So it's very important that we're raising these demands to set different terms and to get people thinking in the ways they need to by saying no U.S.-NATO war with Russia, no World War III.
Well, isn't it a little extreme to say that World War III might happen?
No. People need to remember NATO is a military alliance, and it is one that the U.S. has used before to flare up conflicts and to carry out invasions and regime changes. And this escalation of involvement and rivalry between U.S.-NATO on the one hand and Russia on the other hand involves military alliances that require countries throughout Europe to declare war when different treaties are violated or agreements are come to. This is actually what we're talking about. And this is part of why the U.S. is using this situation in order to ramp up more support. But they don't have control over everything. And as this escalates and, like gangsters on the street, when you huff and you puff, you can't back down. And you don't know where that ends up, except that it ends up with a lot of destruction going down.
I think that's really true. And when you're talking about not just gangsters on the street, but two powers that between them have well over 10,000 nuclear weapons and warfighting doctrines that are designed to use those weapons, it's a very dangerous situation. Talk a little bit about this third slogan in light of that. It's this system, not humanity, that needs to become extinct.
This is a very important part of this slogan. People are concerned about the possibility of nuclear war coming out of this situation in Ukraine. Rightly so. I've had family members calling me up and saying, "Oh, is this where this is going?" And people are dreading that possibility. But the fact is that there is a system underneath all of this, right, of capitalism, imperialism. This is why these empires have to go at each other this way and compete in this way and claim their right to dominate the world in this kind of a way. And any system that runs the world in that way, any system that gambles with the future of humanity, either through potential of nuclear annihilation or the way in which the environment is being destroyed and could be further destroyed with the outbreak of the use of nuclear weapons, that's a system that needs to go extinct, okay? And it's irresponsible and ridiculous that too many people in this country are edging this on in a way, this conflict between U.S., NATO on the one hand and Russia on the other hand, egging this on in a way that could spill over into that kind of a global conflict that could actually spell that kind of an extinction for humanity.
Well, I think the way you pointed to the system is very important, and it's going to be a very important thing to really bring home to people as the Revolution Clubs, the National Revolution Tour, which I'm on, go out there and try to win people and struggle with people to see things more scientifically, to see what's really going on. But this leads me to a question that I think we're probably going to run into. Why shouldn't you demand that Russia get out of Ukraine? Didn't they fired the first shot after all?
The war that's now erupted in Ukraine is the result of conflict and rivalry between U.S., NATO, and Russia that goes back years and decades, okay? Including the U.S. has carried out interventions and destabilization and sanctions against Ukraine in order to get government that's more favorable and supportive to it. And now that the U.S. is doing what now that Russia is doing what the U.S. claims the right to do all over the world, now the U.S. is drumming up opposition to it. But something from Bob Avakian that's very important that I want to read right here, right now, because it cuts through a lot of this and gets to the clarity of what we need to, how we need to understand this. He says that what is called for, and urgently now, is to oppose all imperialist marauders and mass murderers and all systems and relations of oppression and exploitation, while giving particular emphasis to opposing our own imperialist oppressors, who commit their monstrous crimes in our name and seek to rally us to support them on the basis of a grotesque American chauvinism, which we must firmly reject and fiercely struggle against. And just to put another, underline in that last part, people in this country do not know how much their entire lives and existence rests on the U.S.'s ability to get away with claiming it's the good guys going out there in the world, carrying out not only acts of aggression, but tremendous exploitation of people everywhere, which is the basis of the existence of a lot of space and room for people in this country to not know about what the U.S. is doing around the world. And we need to reject that and call on people who have no stake in that to be part of fighting to put an end to this empire.
I really want to agree with that. And I want to also say we need to bring home to people what this country has done all over the world, from Vietnam to El Salvador, from Iraq to Guatemala, from Iran to wherever. This country has wreaked havoc. This system has wreaked havoc on hundreds of millions of people, and it needs to be ended. I want to, in the brief time we have left, talk a little bit about this second slogan, and maybe we'll talk more on it in a future show because it's very important. We don't accept their future It's time to get organized for a real revolution. What does it mean to get organized for a real revolution?
Well, in terms of getting organized, that part, for everybody, even brand new people who are just watching this now, three things. Right now, what you're doing, watching the RNL Revolution Nothing Less show. This is a very important part of how people can get organized for revolution. You can do this every week. There are RNL circles that meet on Zoom or in real life to watch the show together and discuss what the show gets into in terms of why a revolution is necessary, what it involves, and what it's aiming for. This is how people learn about and take part in the revolution right from the get. So what you're doing now, don't just keep on doing it, but bring others together to do it with you. 2, everybody can be part of raising funds. Okay, either if you bake or cook, you can do some kind of sale. You can spread the word about the upcoming national fundraising live stream that is happening on April 24th, right here on this channel. This is an important way that people can learn about the revolution, what it's about and what it's doing in the world and how they can be part of supporting it. It's a way people can support it, but also even learn about it. Even, this is way a lot of people even first find out, oh, there's people who are doing something together that's not just about themselves or just selling something on the corner to raise money for whatever it is. They're doing something that's about getting to a whole different world. And then 3 is what we've been talking about. Get these slogans everywhere. If you're near LA or New York, make plans to get there on May 1st in the demonstrations, rallies, and marches that are being held. In the time building up to that, spread the word and organize other people to come with you. And again, get these slogans up on walls, on posters, banners, in your social media feed, and in different ways. Plant this different pole out there, set these different terms that are concentrated in this slogan.
And what about the Revolution Club? How should people understand that? Should they be aspiring to get into it? What does it take?
Yeah, so look, for everybody, while you're doing this, while you're taking part in the revolution in beginning ways, while you're learning more about this, look at these points of attention for the revolution. As you're learning more, think about what kind of people are we going to be and what kind of world are we fighting for? Think about the principles, goals, and methods concentrated in these points of attention. And when you come to understand them, make a decision. Is this actually what you want to be part of? And join the Revolution Club if you agree with those points of attention. Because there needs to be people who are taking responsibility to fight for what's concentrated here. And that's what it means to join the Revolution Club. You work together with others who are like you and who are very different from you, but who are all part of what we call fighting the power and transforming people to get ready for revolution and spreading what humanity needs, all right? Not what's good for us or just an alternate lifestyle, but what humanity needs, which is revolution and this new communism that's been developed by Bob Avakian.
Noche, I think we've covered some ground today. I know we'll be back to cover more in the future. I have one more thing I want you to respond to. In a minute, we're going to play a clip from a talk by Bob Avakian, actually an extremely important and an extremely timely talk. Something terrible or something truly emancipating. I want to play an important clip from that talk, and I want to hear your response and how May 1st relates to that.
Everything depends on bringing forward a revolutionary people from among the most bitterly oppressed and all parts of society, first in the thousands and then in the millions. As a powerful revolutionary force, organized from the start and consistently with a countrywide perspective, impacting all of society and changing the terms of how masses of people see things and how every institution has to respond. Everything must be focused now on actually bringing forward and organizing this revolutionary force.
So, Noche, what does May 1st have to do with what BA has just spoken to?
Yeah, so what he just spoke about is, what's going to be required in this situation of deep crisis to actually have a future that's truly emancipating instead of a future that is truly terrible. Think about what it will mean on May 1st to have a force that is out there setting different terms in society, like what's represented in these slogans, not going along with siding with our imperialist oppressors, but opposing them as part of refusing to accept their future and getting organized for a revolution. Think about what it means to all the people who don't know anything about this country, its history, or its role in the world, who will be learning about it because they'll see people who are calling it out. Think about what it will mean for people who have no hope, who see the outrages in society, yearn for something different, but have told themselves there's nothing we can do. Think about what it will mean for people to see you out there in the streets marching on May 1st, actually living it, living for something different, living for something emancipating, becoming part of and representing a force that can really make a revolution to get to this different future. And think about what it will mean for the people of the world to see people in this country, yes, this country, working for this kind of a revolution here.